We're on Daf Kuf Dalid Amid Base, and the Mishnah had said that if somebody writes over writing, machlokas between Rabbi Yehuda and Chachamim whether that counts as a new writing or not, whether they transgress. If he, Bryce had said, so let's begin from that Bryce. Tana. Somebody writes one letter, and by writing that letter, they have completed a sefer. They completed the Bereshis, they completed Shemos, etc. Or he weaves one thread, and by doing so, completes a garment. Chayiv. That would be a chatas requiring transgression, on account of that they completed the garment with this thread or with this letter, and in doing so, did a significant writing, a significant weaving. It's a mantana. So whose opinion is this? Amar Rabba Barav Huna, Rabbi Eliezer Hida Ama Achas Ala Orik Chayiv. This is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, that if you add one thread to something that's already woven, you're going to be chayiv. Or Rav Ashi al mafilo temer rabban. However, Rav Ashi says, no, even if you're going to, even the rabbanan could agree to this. Lahashlim shad, because you completed an entire garment, or you completed a sefer. That's different than if you just add one thread to what's already woven. Rabbi Eliezer is saying, level one, that if you have something woven already and you add to that one thread, so that's going to be significant. The Brisa here is saying something more, that even the Chachamim would agree, that who say that the Chachamim would say that no, adding one thread is not enough. You have to always weave two threads in order to transgress, to be chayiv achatas for weaving. But if you add one thread and that completes the garment, then even the Chachamim are going to agree that will count as a significant weave, and you're chayiv to bring a chatas offering for weaving. Amar Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami said, "Kosav is achas b'Tveria v'achas b'Tzipori chayiv." He writes one letter while he was in Tiberias, Tveria, and then he traveled and he wrote the second one in Tzipori. He's going to be chayiv. Ksivi, because they're both a significant writing. It's just that they're not close to each other, and you can bring them close. And when it says, wait, but our Mishnah says, in our Mishnah it said if you wrote on two walls of the house or on two pages of a booklet of a ledger, if you cannot read them one with the other, it's going to be potter. And one says, yeah, it depends. If you wrote them both at the edge of the page, and they happen to be in different cities, so you can bring one to the other, and then they would be you'd be able to read them next to each other because they're both on the edge of the page. So you can put them side by side, and they would be able to be read together. In the ledger and the walls, you can't actually bring them together without removing part of the space of the page or the wall, and therefore it's going to be it's not going to count as chatas inducing transgression. Also, there you have to just bring it close. You don't have to do something to cut it out to bring it close. Tana, the Brisa taught is achas chayiv. If he fixes one letter, he's going to be chayiv. Wait, hashtag kosav is achas potter, higia is achas chayiv. How can it be that if you write a letter, you're going to be potter because it's only a single letter? But if you fix a letter, which is usually doing less than writing one letter, and yet you're going to be chayiv and have to bring a sin offering, how could that be? It's by fixing one letter, he's created two letters. What's the scenario? In a ches is essentially made by two zayins side by side and connecting the tops. So if you remove that connection, you now have two Zions, two Zions side by side, and that is going to count as having written two Zions by removing the connection, and therefore you transgress as if you wrote two letters, and have to bring a chatas offering. Rava says no. The case is the case is that he removed the edge of the dalet, and by removing the edge of the dalet, he turned it into a resh. All he did was fix one letter. And Rashi explains, the Torah says, "Latishkam alecha avlo." You're not allowed to keep a incorrect document, an incorrect sefer in your house. And over here, by removing the corner of the dalet to round it and turn it into a resh, he now completed the sefer. So it's like writing the last letter in a sefer, which we said before is going to be considered a chatas-inducing offering, a transgression on account of that is a significant writing because it completed the sefer. So to hear that the sefer was ein emuga, it was not edited correctly, and now he fixed it so that he's allowed to keep the sefer. He's allowed to keep it at home. So therefore, it counts as the last letter in a sefer, and he transgresses.
Is that makab of hadish then? You finished it?
No, here we're talking about the oraisa of writing. Will he transgress writing? As we mentioned the other day when Michael asked the same question, there are times that in makab patish he would transgress other things, or this could, some makab patish, the parameters are very unclear, and the times that you complete a writing that will be rabbinic makab patish, or you complete a project that will be a rabbinic makab patish. You tovel a vessel, it'll be a darabanan makab patish. But here we're not dealing with the malach of makab patish. We're trying to give the parameters for the malach of writing.
So is Rav saying that just one letter then would be
correct? Like we saw before, that writing the last letter of a sefer, that's a significant writing because you've completed a sefer. So too, if you've already completed the sefer, but in checking it, find that one letter is a dalet instead of a resh. That's very significant. Instead of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, there's one God. It says, you need the dalet, but Lo yilcha Elohim acherim. You shall not have other gods, and there he says there's a dalet. You should not have individual gods. I mean, it's the wrong word. And so he changes the dalet and takes off the corner so that it is a resh. And by doing so, that creates a kosher Torah versus one that he's not allowed to keep because it has the wrong letter in it. So that is considered writing the last letter in the sefer. And even though he didn't even write it, he's just fixing one letter. But that counts like writing that letter because he turned it into the correct letter, and in doing so finishes up the sefer, and in doing so transgresses the chat.
Okay, but following up on Tues' question, and following up the same question I asked the other day. But I mean, so he did. So he took a dalet and he made it into a resh, and in so doing, all he did was convert the dalet to a resh. But by doing that, he completed the Sefer Torah, and so he's over on ksivas ois. Is that right? Is he over on ksivas ois, or is he over on makab patish?
No, we're only talking about the prohibition of writing. He's transgressing and needs a chatas for writing. We're
And
not
so writing that one, fixing that one letter, making that one
is
letter
writing.
is
Correct.
so central to the ksiva, then that even one letter or even one tikkun like that is going to be considered an avera.
That
He's
will.
going to be a chatas.
He's going to bring a chatas for writing. Correct. He's going to bring a chatas for writing.
I mean, Rav is saying that, generally you'd have to write 2 letters, but in this particular instance, even just 1 letter because it's
Chashivas. It's got chashivas.
That counts at, that we already saw a few lines back. That 1 letter that completes a sefer is going to count as writing.
But generally 1 letter might not.
Wouldn't.
Correct. Normally, typically you would need 2.
Right.
Typically you need 2.
Yeah.
And Rabbi Sheshes is saying you need 2 all the time. That's why he says you made 2
Correct.
Zions.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Tana, somebody intended to write 1 letter and ended up writing 2. That means he wanted to write a ches, but he never completed the ches. He wrote the 2 zayins, meaning the 2 vertical sides, but didn't finish up the connection on the top to make it into a ches. Chayiv, he transgresses and needs a chatas offering. But we learned that he's going to be potter when he wrote 2 zayins. So the way Rashi translates this is that the zayins have crowns essentially on it. It has tagin. The way we do it is it looks like a shin of a crown on top of the zayin. Rashi says that it was really not a shin, but it was one on the right side, one on the left side, one in the center. But either way, it needs these covers. So if he's made these crowns, so then it's a completed letter, and he's going to be exempt if it still needs those crowns. Then it will not be a completed letter, and it will not have transgressed. Well, it transgressed, but he would not have to bring a chat.
Is it correct to say that that's ksav ashuris? In other words, ashuris has to have all the tagim and all the.
No, ashuris just means Assyrian writing, the shape of the letters and the way they were written. But there are halachas of the Torah that besides for the font, let's call it, of the letters, there also needs to be certain adornments to the letters.
That's not considered ksav ashuris.
I don't know what you mean. Consider ksav ashuris. It's an addition. It's an addition to ksav ashuris.
If I printed a zayin and held a zayin side by side with the zayin that's got the 3 tagim, okay, so is one of them ashuris and one of them is? I mean,
no. The font of the letter, the way it's written, is ashuris. It does. One has the crown and one doesn't. The Mishnah continued and said, "Kasav isachas notrikin." He wrote 1 letter as notrikin, which is a Greek word for like abbreviation. So Rishua ben Beseira machai v'chachamim put. The chachamim is exempt, but Rishua Beseira said that yechayev because that represents a complete word. Amar Rabbi Yechon v'Shom Rabbi Yosef ben Zimra. Minayin l'loshen notrikin min haTorah. Where do we know that abbreviations is something in the Torah? Shenema, for it says, Ki Avam Hashem says to Avram, I made you into a father of many nations. Av is going to be the abbreviation for Av Nesaticha L'umas. I made you a father for the nations. Bachur Nesaticha L'umas. The basis, I made you a chosen one for the nations. Hamon. What is the abbreviation of Hamon? And we know that Hey and Ches are interchangeable in Gematria and Atrikin. So Hey is Chaviv Nesaticha B'umas, I made you beloved. Melech Nesaticha B'umas, I made you a king by the nations. Vasik Nesaticha B'umas, the Vav is I made you an elder, someone respected. somebody who's experienced. And ne'eman es adir b'lumas, and I made you into trusted and trustworthy by the nations. So that's the abbreviation of Av Hamon. Rabbi Yochanan says we find it from here. The first word of the Aseres HaDibros, of the Ten Commandments, is Anochi, as opposed to Ani. Why does Hashem use the word Anochi? That's Notrikin. Anon Nafshi Kasivas Yahavis. Rashi translates that as I myself wrote it and gave it. Others translate Anon Nafshi Kasivas Yahavis. I wrote my soul into this sefer, into the Torah. Anon Nafshi Kasivas Yahavis. Rabbanan Amri, the Rabbanan say Amira Ne'ima Kasiva Yehiva. It is a pleasant. It is a pleasant statement that I wrote and gave. Some say that the abbreviation, the Notrikin, is backwards. Yehiva Kasiva, I gave you something that was written, Ne'emanim Moreal, and its words, its statements are trustworthy. The Veir of Nasan Amar, and in the Academy of Nasan, they said like this: Amri, Ki Yorata Derech Lanegdi. The Malach had blocked the way in front of the donkey of Bilam, and Ki Yorat Han Derech Lanegdi. Yorat is the abbreviation for Yora, Ra'asa, and Natasa. It was afraid by what she saw, the animal, and turned away. The way Rabbi Shmuel Tana, Carmel. The Torah says about the grains that they are Carmel in the Bikurim. So what's Carmel? Call Carmali, a full basket. David says about Shimi ben Gera that he cursed me a curse nimretzes. That nimretzes is the abbreviation for noefu. That he yelled at me that I was a playboy. Moavihu, that I'm a Moabite. Rotzeachu, that I'm a murderer. Tzorirhu, that I'm an oppressor. To'evu, that I am a disgrace. Rav Nachman Yitzchak says this is when the brothers were when Binyamin was taken back by Yosef for having allegedly stole the goblet. They said, "Man adaber, man etzadek." What can we speak and what can we justify? Nitzadek is the abbreviation. Nechonim anachnu. We are upright. Tzadikim anachnu. We are righteous. Taharim anachnu. We are pure. Dachim anachnu. Dachei is Aramaic for pure. And kedushim anachnu. We are holy. Hakoseh Besosius. Somebody who writes two letters, b'shtei al halamus, having forgotten that it's Shabbos or forgotten that you're not allowed to write. They write one letter, and then they remember, and then they write another letter, having forgotten it was Shabbos. So they remembered in between. Shachris, acha shachris v'achas bein avayim, one in the morning, one in the evening. So Rabbi Gamliel says that they count as one, as we've seen earlier in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to explain again now. We know that once you remember that sort of that it's Shabbos or that it's prohibited, that ends the ha'alama, the lapse of understanding or the lapse of knowledge, and it ends that shogeg. And if you forget again, that's a new shogeg. Rabbi Gamliel is of the opinion that's only if what you did in the first shogeg, in the first lapse, in the first ha'alama, is significant enough to obligate you in something. So therefore, it will count as an independent lapse, an independent ha'alama. However, if you only wrote one letter in the first lapse, that's not enough to do anything. And therefore, by remembering, oh boy, it's Shabbos, or oh, it's you're not allowed to write, and he stopped at that point, that doesn't end the ha'alama. And when he forgot again later and wrote the second time, they will combine, because it was not enough. There was not enough in the first transgression that when he remembered, it should count as an independent action. However, the Chachamim point to the Chachamim exempt because they say each ha'alama is a separate action. What's the basis of the machlokes? Rabbi Gamliel Savar ein yediyah l'chatzi shir. Remembering that it's Shabbos and remembering it's prohibited is not significant if it's for chatzi shir, for less than the requisite amount, and therefore it doesn't end the halama, the lapse, and it can combine to the second lapse. Rabbana say no, there is a yediyah. It does count as a lapse in a chatzi shir and half of a measure. With this, we complete the 12th parak. We shall come back to you, Be'ez Hashem. We'll get to weaving. So Rabbi Eliezer Eimer, if it's an initial weave, so you have to weave at least 3, because an initial weave less than 3 doesn't count as significant. But 3 threads. But if you've already woven and you're adding to it, so then 1 is enough to obligate you in a chatas hofi. The Chachamim say maybe beis chutin. And they say no, regardless of whether you're beginning the garment, the weave, or you're completing it, it's always going to be 2 threads. Somebody makes 2 vertical heddles. So as we've explained before, the weave would be set, the loom would be set up with vertical threads going through loops that would lift them up every other one with simultaneously, so that you can throw the shuttle across and bring the thread across, and this way it would weave, and then you drop those and bring the other side, every other one up, and then you can bring it back across. So making the batei nirin is the loops that would lift up every other the thread. That's a batei nirin, and if you made 2 of them, but the Gemara is going to explain what are these nirin and kirus and napa and. So if he did 2 of them, he's chayav. A tofer based tefirus v'karei almanas litfer based tefirus, somebody who sews 2. I don't know what's the word for 2 sews. 2 sewings. Each time he goes through with the thread, that's 1. Charles, what's the word for that?
Stitches.
Stitches. Thank you very much. Yes, that was a very hard English word for me.
First. But yes.
So 2 stitches would be chayiv. And if somebody tears a garment enough that they could make 2 stitches, that's going to be chayiv. So, and this has to be productive, so that tearing it because they want to make a pleat, as the Gemara was going to explain, or a pocket or something where they're tearing it so that they can make the stitches is for a productive reason. He also Rabbi Yitzchak, when Rabbi Yitzchak came, he explained, Tani Shtayim, he said that Rabbi Eliezer says you don't need 3 weaves, 3 threads woven at the beginning, rather 2 is enough to transgress and bring a chatas. But we learned 3 in our Mishnah. Like Kasha Balimi Vakatin. Well, it depends. Are we talking about thicker threads or thinner, smaller threads? The thicker threads, the Gemara is going to say, could be you need 3, and could be that no, you need 2. So Amri lo lahagis. Some say the thicker ones need 3, and for the thinner ones 2 is significant. Or those say the other way around: the thicker ones need 2, and the thinner ones need 3. Amri lo lahagis. So some say it to this way: alimet lasim. The thicker ones need 3. Because le'sasri, that's when it would not come apart. 2, it's so thick that it will come apart if you only have 2. Trei, sasri, 2 will come apart. But katini, but smaller threads, trei nami le'sasri, even 2 threads is enough of a weave that won't come apart. V'amila lahagis, and then some that say it this way: katini plus edi, trei le'edi. 2 small ones, 2 is insignificant. You're not going to notice a weave of 2. It's as if nothing's done. you need at least 3 to see that you've been weaving. Alimi, but the thicker ones, Trey Nami Adi, 2 is already noticeable. Tanya, we learned like our Mishnah, the Brisa says that the first opinion is going to say you need 3 weaves, 3 threads woven to start to be significant. But once you're adding, 1 is enough. And the Chachamim say, regardless, the beginning or end, 2 is what the measure is in order to bring a chatas. And then they say, and the Brisa adds, ubesafa beischutin v'roichav gimel batinir. At the edge, what you would need is 2 threads worth, the width of 3 verticals. So it's not just 2 threads along the entire length, but even the length of 3 vertical lines. It's like somebody's making a small belt, a small strap, which is 2 threads long, 3 threads wide, and that's sufficient. And it's, so the first part that it says, somebody wove 3 threads at the beginning and 1 at 1 it's already started. So Chayiv is going to bring us a chatas offering for transgressing. Stomach Rabbi Eliezer, that's the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. It's unattributed in the Brisa, but that's like Rabbi Eliezer. Tanya Idach, we have another Brisa, ha'orig beischutin ala gas ala imra chayiv. And there's another Brisa that says that anybody that weaves in 2 additional threads into a gas and an imra, which is something that's already, a gas has a lot of weave in it already, and an imra is at the beginning when you're just starting. Either way, he's going to be chayiv with 2. And Rabbi Eliezer says, afila echad, even 1, if you're adding on to something that's already there. And at the edge, the ending of a garment where it would have a specific weave in order to seal it off. So there, 2 threads, the width of 3 of the vertical lines is sufficient to transgress. It's like somebody making a little strap, which would be 3 vertical lines wide. And 2 threads. In this price, it said somebody who transgresses 2 threads, somebody who adds 2 threads to an already almost completed garment or just beginning garment. Either way, 2 threads is what's going to obligate him in the chatas offering. So this brisa stated that unattributed, and so the stama, the unattributed statement in this brisa is karabanan, like the rabbanan of our Mishnah, that regardless of whether you're starting or you're ending, you're always going to need 2 in order to transgress. So the Mishnah said somebody adds 2 batei nirin, which is 2 of the vertical lines in the nirin or in the kirus. So my ben nirin, what is the nirin? Ama baye tarti bebati nira v'chada benira. It's 2 in the vertical lines and 1 in what would be essentially a twist. And there were various ways of creating weaves that were not necessarily with a vertical line and then a thread going across the horizontal line, but rather in twisting the vertical lines so that they turn into a sort of like a knitted stitch. And they would do that by putting a needle in and twisting the vertical lines so that they interlocked and interwove with each other. And there were many different ways of doing it. And those that can see the screen I'm showing from the Sefer Maaseh Oreg some of the common ways that they were done in Babylon, and in these twists that would create a weave like this one, which is a sprang, it's called. I don't know what it is. And these and this is what it's talking about over here, the two patenira in a nira. Bikirus, my bikirus, amarav mitzavisa. Mitzavisa, as opposed to the loom that we've been talking about, which has a set vertical thread, and and every other thread is lifted with a wood that it's attached to, and then you throw a thread across in a shuttle. This is an individual who has a single loom and a single continuous loom, and by using a pedal, they separate the threads and weave together. Based tefiros. So the Mishnah said somebody who sews 2 stitches. Tanina ba'avas malachas. We already learned that earlier when we learned the list of the avas malachas. We learned that you need 2 stitches. Malachas based tefiros. Somebody who sews 2 stitches. Because we wanted to say the next halacha, which is, and when you tear enough that you need 2 stitches, that also counts as tearing. So well, we learned that already earlier also. Somebody who stitches and somebody who tears for stitching. Malachas, we learned that by the Avos Malachas. Because the next Mishnah begins with, but if somebody tears in a destructive way, they'd be exempt. Somebody who tears out of anger, and on account of somebody who passed away. That's what it says, the measure of two stitches worth, because it tells you sewing 2 stitches and tearing enough for 2 stitches, which would obligate you, as opposed to the next halacha, which is if you tear out of anger, even if it's greater than that, it will not obligate you. So where is it a constructive tear in order to add 2 threads? Davda Bekista is making a pocket, or he's folding the garment to make like a pleat or some sort of pocket in it. In any case, the tear is there for a constructive reason, so that when he sews the 2 stitches, it would, at least 2 stitches, it would create something that they're trying to, an effect that they're trying to have within the garment. We're now in Kufay Amid base. Somebody who tears out of anger or upon a deceased person. And really anybody that does something destructive in all the list of the malachas. Baturin, even though they're not allowed to do that, they would be exempt because it's not malachas machshavas, it's not creative work, it's destructive work. And if somebody's destroying with the intent of rebuilding, so as much as they have to destroy as much as it would be needed for the minimum construction. So that's why we said somebody tears enough that they would take 2 stitches to fix. That, since 2 stitches is the minimum of tefira, and so the tearing as well, the korea would be enough to add 2 stitches. Shiur hamalabing, somebody who whitens the wool, meaning they clean it. We saw earlier there are various processes, either Rashi, Rambam, that's saying they use the nitro in water in order to do it. Vamanapates, the combing out or the smoothing out of the wool. Batsaveya, the dyeing it. Batava, and the spinning it. How much needs to be done in order to transgress any one of these? Each one is kamila rechav asit kafel. It's double the width of a sit. What is a sit? It is when somebody spreads their index finger from their middle finger, the width of that spread is a sit, so twice that amount is significant enough to count as a weave, as spinning a thread or dyeing wool, combing it or whitening it, etc. So too, in somebody who does a weave of 2 threads that we said earlier, it has to be to the length of at least the width of a sit. Very minimum. So we said in our Mishnah, somebody who tears a garment on account of somebody who passed away, that they are going to be exempt because that's destructive. For a minimum, but we have a brisa that says somebody who out of his mourning and sadness over his deceased, chayiv, he's going to be obligated because there is actually a constructive thing there. There's a mitzvah to rent your garments for this deceased. And even though he desecrated Shabbos by doing so, but he fulfilled the mitzvah of kriya. So the Gemara says like kasha, but alma. Well, it depends on what we're talking about. Someone that's his obligation to take care of versus just the deceased person for someone else. But our Mishnah also says on his deceased. Of course, either one is talking about that he's taking care of this deceased person, and therefore it is his. But the Mishnah is talking about where he's not an immediate member of the family, and so he doesn't have to rent his garment. So tearing his garment there is going to be a destructive act because it's not a mitzvah. Whereas the Bryce is talking about where it's a constructive act because he needs to do it because it's a mitzvah, and therefore he will be chayiv. Now the Gemara is going to tell us where other people that are not immediate relatives also have to rent their garments, also have to tear kriya, even if they're not an immediate family member, on account of circumstance. If the person who's deceased is a chacham, then he would be obligated to rent his garment, and therefore for Shabbos it would be constructive and not destructive. The Tanya, as we learned, chacham shemeis hakol karova. When a chacham passes away, everybody's considered, everybody's his relative. Hakol karova sakadaita. You think everybody becomes a relative? Ela ema hakol kikarova. Everybody's like a relative. Hakol karim alav, and therefore everybody has to tear the garment on him. Hakol chotzin alav, everybody has to rent the garment enough that their shoulder is exposed. We don't have that custom anymore. Hakol mevarin alav, everybody has to have a sudas havra, which is the first meal they eat of a hard-boiled egg, a round roll, and a glass of wine, or a chavish in the street. The Gemara says, our case and our Mishnah that says he's exempt is talking about that the person who passed away is not a chacham. The Mishnah continues, the halacha continues. V'i adam kasharu, and if he's an upright person, upstanding person, still everybody needs to share in the pain for this person, and therefore having torn the garment would not have been destructive. The time we learned why do young children pass away? So that people cry for an upright person. The Gemara says, this is sort of a practice in order to do that. This is a collateral Hashem takes from it. Because people are not crying when upright people pass, and so they learn to do that when children pass. They didn't cry and mourn for an upright person that passed. If somebody cries because somebody cries for an upright person that passed away, all of his sins are forgiven. Because of the kavod, the honor given to an upright person. So Gemara says, so our Mishnah must be talking about that the person who passed away not only is not a relative, but is also not an upright person. Right? The Gemara says, and still, if the person, if someone is there, anybody's there at the moment that they passed away, even if it's not an upright person, right? We've decided that this person is not all that great. Nevertheless, they still have to rent their garments. The Tanya, as we learned, the Brisa of Shimon, somebody is there present when the soul leaves a person. They have to rent their garment, even if we're talking about someone who is not considered an upright person. Yet, still, it's as if a Sefer Torah is being burnt, and we have to rent a garment, as Rashi says, because there is no ein lecha reik b'Yisrael. There isn't even an empty person in Yisrael that is not full of mitzvahs and Torah. So this person must not have been there during the actual passing, and therefore he didn't have to rent his garment. So he wasn't there during the Yitzias Neshama, and he wasn't there, and this person is not considered an upright person or a Talmid Chacham, and it's not an immediate relative. Therefore, he had no reason to rent his garment, so it's considered destructive. But in any of the other cases, it would be constructive. So Gemara says, but what about, it says in the Brisa, out of anger, and in the Mishnah, it said out of anger. And in the out of anger, either way should be exempt. The Gemara says, it depends, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda says you don't need to have a melechas machshavas, a productive act. Even though you don't need the end result, it's still going to count as a malacha. Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Shimon says that even if it's that it needs to be a constructive and intentional act, otherwise, if you don't need the result, it doesn't count as a malacha. The Gemara says, well, even in Rabbi Yehuda, it has to be somehow constructive. You just don't need the end result. You need some benefit from it. But when you actually are destroying something, does he say that chayiv? Yes, he does have some benefit out of it. Because he is appeasing his anger. He's calming himself by breaking this. Is he allowed to even do that? Never mind Shabbos. Are you allowed to do something like that even on a weekday? By the time we learned, Rabbi Shimon Meshum Chilfa Bar Igra, Meshum Rabbi Yochanan Nuri, in the name of Rabbi Yochanan Nuri, somebody who tears a garment out of anger, who breaks vessels out of anger, who throws money out of anger. Assume he's an idol worshiper. Why? This is the way the Yetzer Hara works on a person. First he tells him do something small. And the next day he tells him do something worse. Once you allow yourself to be controlled by your instincts and by your evil inclination, ultimately you are led to Avodah Zarah. And he follows that. Where do we know this from a pasuk? It says, don't have a foreign god, and don't bow to a foreign god. Which one? Why is it two terms there? So what's a foreign power? That's within the person. That's the Yetzer Hara. That don't bow to the Yetzer Hara. Don't give in one iota in following your evil inclinations. Because once you do, you'll go down the wrong path. No, so he's not doing it out of anger. This is a controlled, calculated thing. He's doing it to cause fear amongst the people in his household. Rabbi Yehuda pulled out. We're going to stop here with all of the examples of people who did really destructive things, but they did so with the intent of what they felt was needed in their household. See that after Shabbos. Everybody have a great Shabbos.